Hey guys. Just gonna switch off the mighty boosh. Alright. So again, I keep on saying I'm gonna promise that I'm gonna start editing my videos, but to be honest with you, I have no fucking clue what's gonna happen. So this is a little video, of course, it's on YouTube. That's basically what happens. And I'm gonna talk to you about one of the most crazy days of my entire life. So I took a drug, which I presume to be acid. It wasn't. It was N-bomb. We later identified that to be distinct by its metallic taste. It numbed our tongues. We took 1.5 tabs of N-bomb, and we nearly died. So basically, my mate exchanged a body warmer for 9 tabs of N-bomb, which we thought was acid, of course. And fucking everything went insane. So we took 1 tab, we spat them out because they were weird. They tasted different to acid. We then took them again because we thought, fuck it, why not? And at that point, I wished to fucking God that something just came down and took the tabs out of our hands and ran away with them, because that is a very weird. No beanie, by the way. What the fuck? No dressing gown. This is Harry Shook. You don't know my name. You will never know my name apart from my first name now. Right, so basically, it all started I'm being so retarded. So basically, we took it, and about 2 hours later, we started to feel something. A mild acid trip. So we took another half, because we're fucking geniuses, of course. And about half an hour after that, I stood up. Everything was normal, and I went to open my mate's door that went into his garden. I opened the door, and I looked outside, and I just collapsed, and I just fell onto the floor, because it was like I opened the door into, and everything just came flooding into me. This immense, if you've ever been on acid, you'll realise that it just hit me, and for the rest of the night, time just wasn't a thing. I have floated through space. I went into the garden and laid on the grass, and I floated through space. We were way too high. We were way too fucked. And yeah, that's basically what happened. I changed as a person that night. Obviously, I'm completely normal again. But that night, I felt like my person. I had an ego death about 2 times, I think. The entire night was just fucked. We didn't sleep the entire night, of course. We just kind of sat in bed like this for the entire fucking night. And then we came back to his house for about 5 hours, and then we left his house at about 6 in the morning to go explore because the sun had just come up. And honestly, it was so beautiful, and we were so fucked and exhausted because we hadn't slept in about a day. And the sky, it was green and purple, and the birds were flying, and they were leaving silver streaks in the sky. And I was like, this is why I took this drug, to feel like this, because me and him, me and my 2 other friends, we had gone through a whole lifetime in that night. It was fucking insane. So yeah, that was basically it. Then fucking my mate had to go to work, which was not a good idea, because I stopped feeling the effects of that N-bomb about 7 that night, and I took them the night before that at about 10 o'clock at night. So for basically 23 hours, I was out of it. 22 hours, I was out of it. So it obviously didn't go to work, but I got the train into town, and I was walking past town, past people, homeless people on the street, because it's early in the morning on a Saturday morning, so everyone was on the street, kind of looking like they were. So it was such a depressing, negative place to be in, whilst in that vulnerable state. So what would I do to calm myself down? I didn't know that weed and psychedelics can be a good mix in some cases, but is not a good case when you're on the edge. And I was well and truly on the edge. So I smoked a doobskin with fucking my mate, and he had to go home. My phone ran out of charge, and that is when it all went to shit. I went on a bad trip. 10 minutes afterwards. And I ended up walking down the town, the main high street, looking at these homeless, dead people. Like, they look dead to me, thinking, I am dying. I am going to become one of these people on the street dead. So I walked past people, asking if they could find a police officer, because at that point, I knew I wasn't going to get an ambulance or anything. I just wanted to find someone with authority that could take me to a hospital. Obviously, they were like, what are you going on about? Because this weird guy that I couldn't even talk at this point, I walked up to them and went, can you please, I need a policeman, and something like that. And they were like, get away from me, you fucking freak. So I went up to this guy that always sells fruit at the end of town, and he was like, mate, you look really bad, because I was white, I was sweating, I had a little rash coming up here because my body was just going into shock, some fucking side effect or whatever. So yeah, I was like, fuck this, I'm walking to the nearest hospital, and I got directions off this woman who walked me part way to the hospital, and we talked about some very deep shit. But yeah, at one point during that walk, I looked up into the sky, and my soul was coming out of my body. I thought, this is it, I'm dying right here, right now. I looked at the bottom, and my legs are about this tall. It was just not good. I wouldn't wish a bad trip on my worst enemy. It's so fucked. So halfway through, I was like, I can't make it. I'm not going to make it. So I ran into a restaurant, and I was like, no, it just opened up, or a bread and breakfast, and I was like, bring a fucking ambulance, I'm dying. They ran an ambulance. We were going to take 2 hours for the next ambulance to get here, and I was about 10 minutes away from the nearest hospital, so they were like, Harry, fuck's sake, I can't say my name again. Basically, they're like, mate, you have to run to the nearest hospital, or you're going to wait 2 hours. Bear in mind, I didn't think I had 2 hours to live. I had to run. Like, no one was going to save me if I collapsed. I ran to this hospital. I put myself in the emergency ward, walking around, and I had to wait in the waiting room. And I walked into the hospital because I was like, this is a mental place. Watching people who are dying just walking around the hospital, and I was just contemplating life and shit. I was in a very bad state. Went into a fucking hospital. They got me hooked up to all these machines. They at one point they were like, "Oh my god, what the fuck's going on? He's overheating or something like that." And obviously, imagine being on acid, on a bad trip in a hospital bed, hooked up to heart. It's just not a good place to be. And the next 5 hours, my mum being called, everyone coming round and being disappointed with me was a bit of a blur. But it was basically the most disappointing experience, the worst experience of my life. But I think I'm glad that I had it, because it did kind of shape me. It has kind of not changed me, but it has kind of just helped me a bit. But it's a good story to have, and that is a very condensed little story of the entire night. So I hope you enjoyed that little story. My 3 viewers per video, if that. I mean, the only view I got my last video is my mate that I recommended. Anyway, I'll see you later, guys. Yeah.